Hey friends, Mike and Jess here.
And welcome to Regeneration Nation TV. Today we are reacting to a video called Culture Shock in England. 10 things that shock Americans, Americans in England, USA versus England. This is from the Wandering Ravens. That was a whole lot. That was a big title.
That is a very long title. They had to throw USA versus England in there. It's going down in this video. Put your gloves on. Because we're going to battle.
We're going to do it. I'm ready. Put your dukes up.
I'm just kidding. It's going to be a friendly video, I'm sure. These people look like, very friendly people.
Yeah, they got kind faces so far, so.
I'm excited for this. We've got links for their channel, this original video down below. Go check them out. Go support them. And tell them we sent you. If you want to. Sing.
Hey guys, I'm Eric.
And I'm Grace. We're the Wandering Ravens.
And today we are going to tell you 10 things that were culture shock for us when we arrived here in England.
The first thing that shocked us when we arrived in England was just how many foreigners there are in London.
We'd always heard that London was multicultural, but just the extent of foreigners that were there was really shocking to us. And not in a bad way. It was just surprising because we were coming to England, we're like, oh, there's probably gonna be a lot of English people and we'll be hearing lots of English. But when we were in public, about 90% of the languages we were hearing around us were foreign languages and not English.
Pretty much everywhere was represented in London, so that was really cool. And to just hear all of the different languages. Because we feel like, Seattle's pretty multicultural as well, but not to the extent of London.
No way.
Just all of the languages and everyone speaking different languages in the restaurants. We'd be sitting at our table and each table was speaking a different language.
This happened every time we went
Yeah, pretty much every time. There'd be like the table of Koreans. We could always hear them because we understand a tiny bit of Korean, so we were like,
we lived in Korea for 2 years, for those of you who don't know.
The Koreans, French people, Eastern European people, just everywhere. Number two!
That's pretty interesting. I wouldn't think that. I would assume what they assumed when you're like going to London.
Yeah.
Going to be around a lot of Brits, around a lot of English-speaking people. It would definitely throw me for a loop to instantly be thrown into like an international soup like that.
That's pretty cool though. That's really awesome, actually.
It is cool. I mean, we're pretty, like, I'm already used to it here, but yeah, traveling, like our neighbors are originally from Sri Lanka. We've talked about that before. And if you hear them speaking between themselves, they're not speaking English.
Yeah.
We here in Florida, we've got a big Spanish, population. The further south you go in Florida, especially towards Miami, most people will be speaking Spanish.
Yep.
And yeah, there's a lot of different cultures here as well. But yeah, traveling to London, I would be like, yeah, we're gonna get off the train and it's going to be just a bunch of Brits.
Yep.
And that's what my mind will go to.
Yeah, just a bunch of people speaking English, and then you get surprised by that.
2, the subways are really small. It was actually shocking because our experience with subways is in Korea and Japan, and these subways are very wide. There's lots of standing room. They're also very tall, but the tube, as it's called in London, actually looks kind of like a tube. Yeah, it made sense.
It's like not tall, or at least the ones that we rode on were not tall, like all the way across on the ceiling, but it's kind of like
a box
curved or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of like curved. Maybe not all of them are that way, but the ones that we rode on were that way. So that was interesting.
It was just.
That's something completely foreign to me, dude. I've never seen a subway.
We've never been on a train, never been in the subway. No, never had to go down.
We see them all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, subways are like trains are like crossing big distances. I feel like you could take a train from here to a different state.
Yeah.
But like subways are some of these cities in the U.S. and all around the world. Like people use them every single day just to traverse around their city.
Yeah.
And it's a foreign concept to me. I've never even seen one in real life.
Curved. Maybe not all of them are that way, but the ones that we rode on were that way. So that was interesting.
It was just surprising and shocking how small the tube was, at least the tubes that we rode.
Speaking of tubes, that brings us to number 3. I love how English people wait patiently for people who are on the tube to get off before getting on the tube themselves. That is something after living in Korea for a couple years, you'll know that is not the case. As soon as the subway doors open and the train stops, everyone in Korea is just like pushing everybody else and getting on
Battle
the
Royale.
subway as fast as they can. So it was nice to go to a place where everyone just stands aside and waits for those people who are on the train to get off, which is what should happen.
This is actually so shocking that the very first time we rode the tube, when the doors opened and everyone was waiting for people to get off, Grace turned to me and made that observation. She's like, oh my gosh, they're waiting for people to get off. What is this?
Madness.
Number 4, this is just a really quick one, but light switches here are different than they are in the States, and whereas in the States and Korea and other countries, you flip on to turn the light switch
You
on,
flip up, yeah.
flip up to turn it on, and flip down to turn it off. Here,
It's the opposite.
yeah, from what we've seen, you flip up to turn it off and flip down to turn it on.
Number
Hey,
5.
we have
I would flip.
we
all
have a
mine
few
over.
we have a few of those here actually, depending on who did the electric work in your
I was gonna
house.
say,
But
I used to put those in, and my boss would he'd get a little lazy, dude.
Yeah.
He would cut corners.
Put 'em
and I'd be
upside
like,
down.
Yo, this one's not the right way. It's like,
it's fine. They'll figure it
just
out.
leave it, dude.
I've
I'm
lived in
like,
a couple of
really?
houses where it's been like that.
I'm
so
the type I would go back
And
behind.
fix
He's like,
it.
hey, I gotta go to the hardware store for some tools, some extra stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm
fixing this right now.
Everything you told me to leave. But yeah, I'd have to go in and switch and swap
fix it.
around. It would bother me. You get used to it quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a culture shock for sure.
The other thing that we found surprising when we arrived in England was that power outlets have to be switched on to use them. So it has like a little switch next to it and you have to turn it on in order to use electronic appliances. So many times we've tried to boil like hot water for tea or coffee
Or charge my phone.
and you forget to switch the power outlet on and it doesn't charge or the water doesn't boil and you're like,
that's
like that, though,
interesting.
because
I like it.
I heard someone say the other day it prevents like children from sticking things into the sockets and getting electrocuted.
Yeah.
So I like that
Yeah.
idea.
And then also, like in America, when we go on vacation or something like that, you have to run around the house and unplug everything so it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not a fire hazard.
Or even like every night you try to like unplug
Yeah,
it, you know?
yeah. Here, you just turn the outlets off. So that's actually kind of cool. It was shocking,
That's
but it's
smart.
kind of
We
cool,
should
and
do
we'll
that.
probably try to do that on our own house one day.
Yeah.
Honestly, my cousin would love that. My
Yeah.
cousin Josh, he's like, dude, why do you keep all this stuff plugged in? Go and unplug everything and then go look at how fast your meter. We have meters on the outside of the house that measure how much electricity you're using per hour or per minute even. I don't know. But they just sit there and spin, and every time it makes a full rotation, you get charged more. So he was like, go and just look at how fast it's spinning and then go unplug everything and go look how fast it's spinning. Even when these lamps and things are turned off, he's like, they're still drawing energy. So
That's so smart then. I feel like we should do that with
Yeah.
Can we switch our outlets right now?
I don't know.
That is so smart, like safety wise, especially us having a
Safety-wise,
baby.
yeah.
She's very curious, and all of our outlets are really just level to her. There's a lot that are up a little bit higher, but still, you have to have those covered for the most part, or she'll get creative and she'll try to stick her fingers in there or stick something else in there. Luckily, we haven't experienced that yet, and I hope we never do.
We
But
have those little plastic things that you stick in the electric
To cover
outlets
'em.
that aren't being used.
yeah,
But yeah, like there's so many benefits to that. I feel like
It's
having
so
a little
smart.
Switch.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I like that.
Number 6, something else that has been a little shocking for us, is that tipping here is a bit different than back in the States. Whereas in the States, when you go to a restaurant, any receipt that you get is going to have a tip line where you write the tip. Here at restaurants, they don't have that. And most cafes don't even have a tip jar. And so it's been really confusing for us to figure out what we do for tipping.
I've heard also that tipping is super minimal here. Like if at all, it's
Yeah.
like just really minimal. So that's definitely different than America, where as a server you're like 20% or you're a bad table sort of.
Yeah. Question though, for the English folk in the audience, when I'm at a restaurant and they give me a receipt that doesn't have a tip line or anything on it, what am I supposed to do? Do I tip, or is
Do you
that
just
just
leave
like
it on
a
the
no
table?
tip? Yeah, do you leave it
Yeah.
on the table, or is that just like a we all agree that there's no tipping going on in this situation? Please let me know down in the comments.
See, this has come up before in a video, and we still get comments on that video because we did such a bad job at articulating our thoughts when we talked about it. Because here, like, you don't get paid minimum wage.
You get paid a tippable wage, like you
Yeah,
get.
they have it's like a law. It's below the normal minimum wage, and people are like, how do the employers get away with that? But what we didn't explain very well is that if you, during your shift, you just get stiffed and you don't get tipped at all. So basically you got paid the $2 an hour for your whole shift. The employer is responsible to bring you up to minimum wage.
Yeah.
If you just got stiffed on every single table somehow, which that will never happen.
It won't.
But if maybe it did, I'm sure that it has happened before to somebody. This got
or stiffed enough to where it was lower than what it should be, because it could balance it out and average it out.
They have to pay you whatever the state minimum wage is. They have to pay you that.
Yeah, so they have to make up for it.
But here, we're only talking about restaurants. There's so many different people that want you to tip now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I only tip at restaurants. I will not tip you for making my coffee or anything like that, because you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting paid whatever you're getting paid, minimum wage or above minimum wage, whatever you're getting paid.
Yeah.
You're getting paid. I'm not tipping at every single place that I go, but restaurants.
Yeah.
I've worked as a server. You've worked as a server. You now work as a bartender.
Yeah.
I never worked as a server and didn't make $25 to $30 to $40, $50 an hour.
Yeah.
Like, I've worked many jobs in my life. The best paying job I ever worked was as a server.
Yeah.
So you don't hear people complaining here, the people that work as servers, because they're making bank.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of students end up working as servers, and they're like, dude, I'm not even gonna finish my degree because I'm making so much, and like, I'm just gonna be a lifelong freaking server.
Sometimes
because
it's
the flexibility, like, you don't get which a lot of jobs here, you don't get like insurance, and you don't get
like retirement funds,
but you're making so much money.
Yeah.
To where if you're smart with your money and you can budget your own money out, you can
save up for that.
You can manage all of that yourself. There's not one person who's working a serving job that I know that isn't like loving the money that they're bringing in.
Yeah.
It's going to be the most money. A lot of people go and they're a student, they get their college degree, and then they're like, dude, I make less now, especially with all this debt paying my college loans off.
Yes.
I should have just stayed as a freaking server.
Yeah.
Because the flexibility right now, like if I had a shift on Thursday, it's Monday, I could just post in the group chat and like, hey, does somebody want my shift on Thursday? Boom, it's taken up. There's so much flexibility. The amount of money that you make per hour is ridiculous. So this is one to where I've actually talked about it with my friend from Liverpool. I prefer the way that we do it here.
Yeah.
As somebody who's worked in that industry, I like it.
Yeah.
I do like it.
Definitely.
The amount of money you can make per shift is crazy.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I did.
I'm sorry.
I still love it.
Yeah, exactly. She still loves it. It's just one thing to where it would be a culture shock at first. I wouldn't mind like not tipping going out, I guess, but at the same time, like working the job myself, I would miss those tips so much.
Definitely.
You make so much money.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the comments. I've rambled on for so long. We got so many comments on that last video of like, man, how do people do it? I'm like, you need to experience it for yourself.
Yep.
I think there is a misconception going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who love the service industry because of that, because you make so much money. It doesn't matter that you're not getting insurance or anything like that, because you're making hand over fist money to where you can afford private insurance and you can afford to take vacations every year, because you're really making more than any other job you're going to freaking work, unless you get like a really high level degree and you're making, I don't know,
Six figures or something.
Six figures or something, but you could damn near make 6 figures on tips. It's crazy.
I guess.
So I don't make any social faux pas.
Number 7. Real quick, I was just going to mention that in grocery stores here in England, they generally have a much larger selection of cheese than they do back home in the States.
I
which
like
I'm not going to
that.
complain about. I love that.
Amazing.
I love
I think
cheese.
it's just a lot more in the culture here, I guess, than it is back home. Whereas back home, you usually only have like a couple different kinds of cheese to choose from, and not
Cheddar,
like
Gouda,
not like mozzarella or Parmesan.
mozzarella, yeah.
Not like specialty cheeses. Here you'll have like many different types,
would
and
love that.
there'll be different ages as well.
Number 8. This is one you hear a lot, probably, but we don't know which direction to look when we cross the road. And this is for a couple of reasons. 1, people here drive on the left side of the road, and so that's confusing. But 2, there are also a ton of one-way streets here, both in London and in the villages that we've been in and towns. lots of one-way streets that aren't obvious one-way streets. And so when we cross, it is so confusing to know
which way to look.
And so
it's quite dangerous, actually.
Yeah.
You know, like, I am in fear of being struck by an automobile. That sounded ridiculous.
That was
They're adorable. I love them.
That wasn't an English accent. That was just me.
Sounding like an English person.
In London?
They're so cute.
They need to maybe explain this a little bit better, because it's like the car's coming from this way, going this way, and on the other side of the road it's the opposite. So like, what do they mean by like they don't know where to look?
They do, because when you're raised as a youngin', your parents always say, always look both ways before you cross the street. I have heard that my whole life. So you look both ways when you cross the street anyway. So you're looking in both directions. You're going to know if a car's coming.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused. Are they like talking about crossing like a 6-way intersection? You don't know where to look?
But even so, that would be easier to look, right? Or no? I don't know.
And though there is a nice, I think it's so polite and courteous how they put on the ground, like, look this way.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Before crossing the street, there's like paint on the sidewalk that says,
okay,
look left, or
they
look
probably
right,
it's probably a really big problem for tourists.
And so I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, oh,
that was really good.
These English folk have our back.
They know we're stupid.
Number 9. This is more of a question, but it was also a very big culture shock. Why are there 2 separate spigots for hot and cold water? This, like, somebody please explain. I don't understand this. Like, do you want to wash your hands in freezing cold water and not kill any of the germs? I don't know if that's correct, but whatever, that's what I think. Or do you want to scald yourself so that you can't even feel, and then you have to be fed by your husband for the next few days? Like,
that's interesting, actually. How do you do that?
It is very confusing, and this is not just something we've seen in homes, but we've seen it in museums, in churches, in cafes, and restaurants.
Like everywhere in the restroom,
Yeah.
it's 2 separate.
2 separate spigots, and you get scalding hot water, or you get freezing cold water.
And so, like, what I was doing, I know this is
You just stand up and
ridiculous,
go,
but
throw
yeah, I
them
was
together.
just like,
Combining it real quick.
somebody explain, because somebody's got an explanation for why this is better, I'm sure.
Explain it to us.
It's not.
It's like, hey, this is the way that we wired our plumbing, and it's too hard to change at this point,
can't
and
fix
it's not
it.
gonna change. We're not doing it.
Explain that to us too, because they're gonna have it in their comment section, but I want to have it directly to us because it's gonna be hard to scroll through theirs and find it. But I need that explained to me for sure.
Yeah, we have, just for people who don't know, we just have one, and you can kind of like lean it to one way or the other, and get that perfect mixture of hot and cold water.
Yeah,
and we call it warm.
Yeah,
Same.
You're so.
Number 10, it was shocking to us how much people jaywalk here. We had been warned by friends that, hey, just so you know, in London, it's okay to jaywalk. But when we came here, it was just surprising to see how frequently everyone jaywalks. Literally, everyone jaywalks all the time. Yeah, it's constant jaywalking. And we're coming from Seattle, which is, I think, in the United States, we are famous for being a city that no one jaywalks in. So it was really shocking to come to England and no one, it's just like
constant jaywalking.
Look, run. Look, run.
Which makes you feel extremely stressed out as foreigners because we don't know which way to look. So we're like, oh, we can't just wait for this light, which is gonna last forever. We should jaywalk, but then we don't know which direction the cars are coming from. So if we jaywalk, we might die. So it's kind of like,
and then you know who the foreigners are because they're the ones that are waiting for the light.
Oh.
Wow. That. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video.
If you ever visited, they were on 2 different pages. That was awesome.
Oh my God.
That was totally an us moment if I ever saw one. That was so funny. She said something totally different than what he said. That was awesome. Okay. All I have to say for that.
Thank you guys so much.
Go ahead.
No, we can close it out and then I can go with my finishing thoughts.
Yeah, they're wrapping the video up.
So much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you've ever visited England, do drop a comment down below and let us know what culture shocks shocked you. I'd love to hear what your experience visiting this country was like. And if you liked this video, make sure you hit that like button so that YouTube shows this to more people.
And subscribe down below so that you can get more travel in your life.
Hitting the subscribe button will make sure that our travel videos and more videos about England, culture shock, budget travel will show up in your subscription feed. See you guys next time. Are we done?
Yes. Cheers.
Cheers.
They're adorable. I
good.
love them already. They're so, like, they're a little dynamic together. They're very quirky and they're playful with each other. And I love that. That's so awesome. And they're relatable too, because a lot of these things would surprise me if I went there as well. The last thing though, I will tell you, you obviously do not live in Florida, because that would not shock me at all. Like, people jaywalk here all the freaking time.
There was a guy walking straight at us the other day.
Yeah.
And he was just waiting for like this car to kind of go enough.
He's
so he
just
could dart
walking through the
over,
lines.
and
Yeah.
he's walking straight at us in a 3-lane highway. 6 lanes, because
Yeah.
there's 3 lanes each way.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this guy doing? He's walking straight at us. I was like, oh, he's jaywalking. He's just waiting for this car
Yeah.
to go. And it's like,
They do it like it's nothing.
Yeah, some people are weird
Yeah.
about how blatant they are with the jaywalking.
They don't care. No, not at all. If they're going to get across the
and
street.
we don't even live in like a big populated city. We live like on the outskirts, like more in a town.
Yeah.
And it's really bad.
Yeah, it happens all the time. It's nothing for me to see somebody jaywalk. It's not like I'm like, oh, they're jaywalking. You know what I mean? That's so dangerous. I've done it a time or two. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I could see like it being an issue in a dense
In
city,
a huge
like
population.
we're talking about Seattle, where there's a lot of busy people.
Yeah.
A lot of time constraints, you got to be here.
Well, that's why it's a
here.
law. They're
It's
trying
like,
to protect people. You want to keep people safe, and that's a reason for it, is if there's so much traffic going on, there's people that are not paying attention to that, because you should be following the lights and the rules and the laws of the traffic lights and stuff like that to keep people safe, so they don't have to look up and make sure there's nobody randomly crossing the road when they shouldn't, so it makes sense.
We come up on some places to where it's like we have our daughter, we have a stroller, and we're trying to look for that crosswalk, and there isn't one.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, we have to jaywalk.
We have to just run.
And it's like,
run as fast as you can.
You just have to run, dude. And hope they stop.
It's
for
exhilarating. You're really living.
Yeah, most of that, outside of the hot and cold water being on different spigots, like most of that, it's like, I could get down with this.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit of a culture shock at first, but it's like I might actually enjoy some of those things better.
I think I could. And the first time I visit England, I am determined. I am going to get fish and chips. That is the first thing that I'm going to get.
That on their plate
that
looks
interests
so
me so much. And every time I see anything about England, I'm just like, I want to go to a pub.
Some fried fish for
I want to get some. I do. I really do. It's not going to be the same though, but I want to get a nice pint of whatever they suggest to me and some fish and chips, and I will be the happiest girl ever, I think. Until the next,
I'm
visit.
down for that as well. I do not oppose to that at all. And maybe one day we'll be making a culture shock video when we make our first trip to England.
How lovely that will
would be great. And all we need to know is who's picking us up at the airport.
Yeah, who's going to come get us on the left side of the road, because we ain't driving, all right?
I know that's right. I know that's right. Public transportation it is. We'll be riding the...
Somebody else can take care of it for us.
Tube.
The tube. Yeah, we'll be riding the tube.
That's pretty interesting. That would be a culture shock to me.
That would be.
Just switching from driving yourself around to using public transportation so much.
And not only that, you don't have a lot of things that go underground in Florida. It's not really something that's ideal here because it's so humid.
You go too far underground, you're going to be in the aquifer.
Yeah,
okay?
it's terrifying.
A water system that runs basically underneath all of Florida.
Yeah,
so we don't have basements here.
Nope.
Because if you dig too deep, groundwater starts to set in. Like I go outside right now, I start to dig a 2-foot hole, and it's going to fill with water.
Yeah, immediately.
So yeah, it's not
ideal.
I was born and raised in Florida, so all of this underground travel.
Yeah.
Like how?
I think that would definitely shock me. Just like walking downstairs to go underground somewhere, I'd be like, what is happening?
Yeah, that would freak me out.
Yeah. Too many scary movies with subways in them, I think.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. It would just be a culture shock to be underground to me at all.
It would.
I wouldn't be freaked out. But
Yeah. I would like to do it, though. Just cross off your bucket list, something else to do, something else to experience, for sure.
For sure. That was a very interesting video. Definitely go show them some love in their comment section. And, yeah, go subscribe to their channel. Seem like a very cool couple. Very interesting life they're living over there in London.
Yeah.
And, yeah, maybe we'll be making a trip over. Now we're a little bit more informed.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, friends.
Peace.
I'm not scared of your love.